You guys are against masks now? You know, the reason they have to wear them is because some of these violent protesters are trying to take their picture and dox them on the internet and put them and their families in harm's way. Do you agree with that?
I
Because I don't.
There has to be a specific crime for a sitting official to dox a government official. Like, there got to be something there. I have another opportunity for you guys who God has called to do this. It's not for everybody. It's only for those who feel it in their heart that God is calling you to do more, calling you to help people in need. And House of Refuge is one of the organizations that we work with right here in Phoenix, Arizona. They are changing lives. I physically went to this organization. I toured the facility. You can see me there. I met a bunch of people there. And I'm going to show you the guy that I met that literally, when he gave his testimony in the chow hall, I literally teared up. I tried not to cry in front of everybody. All right. But they are doing tremendous work, especially for women who are single with children. I mean, they are just making things incredibly better. Brian's story was absolutely tremendous. Him coming off the street, being in the program, turning his life around, also giving back to the program once he had a successful journey. So you are helping people just like Brian and others have a life of purpose and get back on their feet. So essentially all it is 30 people. It costs about $1,000 a month to house an individual. We want to help 30 people, which equals $30,000. Now, you don't have to give $1,000. I'm going to give $1,000 to help at least one person, but you can give any amount, whether it's $10, $15, $20. Y'all know how we do it. When we all work together, we can accomplish incredible, incredible things. So make sure you hit the link in the description section. You will land on this page and go in and donate whatever God has put in your heart. So go to the link in the description section and let's support somebody today. You know, very important for us to disclose this because these people need to be held accountable. And it's unfortunate that nobody gets held accountable that do some of the most shady stuff in the world. Let me give you an example. The Nashville mayor is under fire for doxing ICE agents. There has to be a specific crime for a sitting official to dox a government official. Like, there got to be something there.
Oh, you guys are against masks now? You know, the reason they have to wear them is because some of these violent protesters are trying to take their picture and dox them on the internet and put them and their families in harm's way. Do you agree with that?
I had
because I don't.
I had not heard about that, and which I think we live in kind of different informational silos. So I think you may not be as aware of the fact that there are like literally nannies out there with little kids in the neighborhood where I'm raising my family. The nannies are being snatched away, and the babies are being put in police cars for 4 hours. That's horrible. I didn't know about this doxing, and that's horrible too. So there's a lot of bad stuff that's happening. The doxing should not be happening, but what's happening is those masks are terrifying people. But I wasn't aware of the doxing.
Well, I don't disagree with you about masks being. I mean, all the protests that are happening. You know, the Free Palestine people now who have now converted into the pro-Iranian regime people. A lot of them wear masks out there. We don't seem to be exercised about that. But in the case of these law enforcement who are being doxed, and I mean, they're only being doxed for one reason, because they want people to come along and do something terrible to them.
I'm from a law enforcement family, and I'm against that. And by the way, the Urban League is standing up against these mass protesters.
All right, Democrats say, look, they are emotional, they are fed up, and they are going out and putting themselves in between ICE and some of the immigrants, or making statements. Do you think it's political theater, or do you think, hey, this is something that they're really serious about, and they want the public to see them out leading the charge?
Well, I agree with some of that. They are emotional, and the last part, they do want the public to see, but what they're doing for their base. There's a lot of capital right now in the Democratic Party for getting arrested. In the case of Padilla, who, if you handed me $10 million right now, if I could pick him out of a lineup, I don't think I could do it. Charging into a press conference, lunging towards a stage. I mean, I'm sorry, but screaming that I'm a senator, I'm a senator. I don't know who you are. I still don't know who the guy is. And so that's not good enough. He's a U.S. senator. If he wanted a meeting with her, he could have had one. And he did get one as soon as it was over with. I find it curious he had a staffer posted up in there to film the whole thing. These are clearly stunts. The guy who went to lock arms and interfere with the detention of an illegal in New York City. I mean, the energy in the Democratic Party right now is around doing everything they can do to protect the illegal immigrant populations in the United States, which is still baffling to me. But more than anything, the theater kids have taken over, and they are desperate to create theater, and that's all it is. It is not serious to try to lunge at the Homeland Security Secretary in a press conference and expect any, reasonable outcome.
But look at what this guy said. He got called out. The mayor of Nashville got called out for doxing ICE agents. Wrote a clip.
Back there.
Hi, Karen Aguilar, Fox 17 News. Do you believe that posting the names of federal immigration officers endangers them?
Well, this was really an issue where they were already part of a public record by being in Department of Emergency Communications calls, so I don't think it puts them at additional risk, but it's also not an intention of the executive order under which those names were released.
So if it doesn't put them at additional risk, why did your office decide to remove the names?
It wasn't an intentional process. We've had primarily using local departments. We've had multiple people whose names have been there, but again, this is something new. We're reviewing it. We've obviously had some concerns from DHS about release of those names. They would still be discoverable, but that was not an intent of the executive.
Do you understand the concerns of DHS when they're talking about endangering federal immigration officers by posting the names?
I understand the concerns, but it's not a process that I would characterize as doxing. It was an unintentional release of names that were already part of a public record.
So would you agree with them that releasing the names endangers them, or was it just to kind of appease
I wouldn't
HSI?
say it was an endangerment process. I would say they may have some concerns. I'm far more concerned about the overall dynamic we have about unmarked, unidentifiable, masked people whisking people into vehicles. I think that's a bigger concern.
Okay, and
All right, well, I guess we better go.
All right, let me just speak on this because I'm trying to be fair, right? I'm not always polarizing. I want to be fair. Could he be telling the truth, right? Meaning that things like this do happen. There's a lot of nuance and a lot of processes they go through, and some things can be unintentional and they can be viewed a certain way depending on what lens you see it through. Or is this a way of somebody looking at it and saying, this could be an issue. Technically, it's not an issue. We're going to do it anyway. I think they should make a concerted effort to try to hide the identity of some of these ICE agents unless a person want to go through the process of FOIA requesting these people and asking for a public record. You don't want to unnecessarily, like he said they had done potentially, unnecessarily put these people out there because then they become the subject of attack. MS-13, gang-related mafia groups are going to attack them and go after them because what? They're messing up their cash flow. And then you go look at it, agents' assaults have increased by 413% in recent years. So having a mayor that's not doing his due diligence to make sure he protect these people, in my opinion, is a flaw. If there is ever evidence that he intentionally did this, it should be a crime. And I think he should be, I don't know if you can impeach him or whatever the case may be. It's unacceptable. That's just my whole thing about it. Do I believe him 100%? No. Do I think he could be telling the truth in good faith? Yes. But you got to watch these people. You got to always keep an eye on them because they do sneaky stuff like this. Unmarked, unmasked people throwing people in the vehicles. I do think we need to be cognizant of that too. I think if you're an ICE agent, you got to have some type of credentials. You got to have something that indicates that you're an ICE agent because to be honest, if I was a criminal and I was a part of a criminal enterprise, I'd be acting like I'm ICE agents to be throwing people in the car if you want to do something to them, right? You just act like an ICE agent, run and throw them in the car, and everybody like, oh, that must be ICE. No, this is random people kidnapping people. So I think that the ICE agents do need to have some identifying markers, but that's why it's invaluable that the local law enforcement, the sheriff's office, and the federal government have to work together so they know what it is. Let me give you an example. When the FBI would do raids and the ATF would do raids and stuff, they would notify us. Therefore, when we hear calls on the, people calling 911 because there's explosions and people kicking in doors with plain clothes, we already know because they called us ahead of time and said they're going to do a special hit on this house. Like we go so far as the dispatch will send us a message and say, avoid the area of so-and-so and so-and-so because at 10:30, the FBI is going to do a SWAT raid on this location. Please avoid the area. Please be advised. People are going to call in and say there was explosions and shootings and stuff like that. And it's probably because the ATF is doing a hit on this house at this location. That's why cooperation is important because you can mess around and get a crossfire situation if you don't cooperate, right? You get ICE agents going to somebody's house and people are saying, I'm getting somebody breaking in my house is burglars, they're wearing masks, and then the police show up and then they end up shooting ICE agents because they like thinking that they're armed robbers. Work together unless they're doing something unconstitutional. And rounding up people who are illegally in our country is not unconstitutional. Just so you know. Okay.